Welcome to MSG PM, presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. Your app is ready, Emperor. My name is Kazim Famiwide, and if you're a fan of fourth quarter Burks, this game is for you. Alec Burks scoring 24 points off the bench against the Sacramento Kings, one of my favorite games of the year, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little NFL, and I can't do none of that without my tag team partner. I'm going to tag in real quick. Jeff Eisenband, one and only numbers guy, my man. Let's talk about Alec Burks. He had a very, very strong season. Not a name that jumps immediately when it comes to NBA circles, but anybody who watched the Knicks this year knew that this guy came in the clutch time and time again in the fourth quarter. Talk to me about him.
Well, you need a guy like Alec Burks on every NBA team, right? You need a guy. 12.7 points to me is misleading, averaging that per game, because when the Knicks needed him, there were games that he significantly cleared that. Then there were some games where, the starters were doing their job and he did his job, just kind of, played the role that he had to do. And I think that's why the Knicks wanted Alec Burks back so badly, because he fit with everything that this squad has been trying to do. He's a guy who can create his own shot, Kaz, as I've seen you do at pickup games. But that's what the Knicks needed that off the bench. So he was a big part of that. We saw it in the playoffs, just how important he was. And 2.1 3-pointers per game last year. That was really important. That was a career high for him, making those threes. So if that's what you're getting at this point in Alec Burks' career, more of a 3-point shooter than the younger guy who could bring a little bit more energy and penetrate, that, especially with the upgrades the Knicks has made, is exactly where you want a guy like Alec Burks.
I love me some Alec Burks. And like you said, Jeff, I love me some shot creators. It's just what wins championships. And speaking of winning championships, let's full screen those NBA odds for the championship this coming season. No surprise here. Lots of stars at the top with the Brooklyn Nets, Los Angeles Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, the Golden State Warriors are back and reloaded. The Western Conference champion Phoenix Suns and the Utah Jazz share the same odds. All these teams I can really see winning the championship, Jeff, but what team do you think has the best chance to really pull it off?
Well, I think if we're just talking about value here, I think the Bucks, to me, are they really, they have double the odds as the Lakers, I know LeBron was hurt and AD was hurt in the playoffs, but, we watched that season and you have to take the health into consideration. Are they really the defending champs really that far from the Lakers? So plus 800's a good spot there for the Milwaukee Bucks. We don't know what we're getting from the Warriors. I think the Suns is a little too high just because of the way they played last season. The Utah Jazz have to be out there because the Jazz, I thought we were on a beeline for the Jazz Suns Western Conference Finals last year. And I think the Jazz, they had the lead in the series over the Clippers. It looked like they were waltzing their way to that Western Conference Finals. And I don't know what happened, but the Jazz, they bring those players back. Quinn Snyder has been a great coach with them, with having them prepared to beat anyone in the league. And I'm not saying they're the best team on this list, but I'm saying at plus 1,500, they're the best value on this list.
That's right, Jeff. Show some love to the Utah Jazz, man. And shout out to Donovan Mitchell. Love that guy. But if we learned anything from the past season,
this isn't the All-Star Game draft, right? This isn't the All-Star Game draft, Kat.
This isn't the All-Star Game draft, all right? This is NBA 2K. This is what gets it done between the 94 feet. So not mad at those picks. But if I learned anything throughout the season is that a lot of times the most talented teams may not make it to the end of the season. So let's hit some long shot odds and see who's going to win that war of attrition. You got the Philadelphia 76ers at plus 1,600, the Los Angeles Clippers at 2,000, the Denver Nuggets with the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic at 2,500, the Dallas Mavericks, Atlanta Hawks, and New York Knicks round out that long shots list you see on that screen. Jeff, put me on game. What's a great value here?
Well, I gotta put you on blast because you said the team that shall not be named once again, Kaz. So I don't know what you're doing there at plus 4,000. The Knicks at plus 8,000, of course. Sprinkle some value on the Knicks all the way back there. There are two teams that jump out to me here. I mentioned the Clippers when we talked about Western Conference odds the other day. I don't understand. The Clippers were, almost made it to the NBA Finals without Kawhi at the end of the playoffs. They get him back at some point this season. And that's a team that you could convince me has the most talent as a squad the most potential in the entire Western Conference, and the Denver Nuggets, who continue not to get loved because they just didn't show up in the playoffs last year, but they didn't have Jamal Murray. They've got Michael Porter Jr. with another year under his belt, and I just think the Denver Nuggets, based on what we saw from them, especially in the regular season the last 3 years and the playoffs 2 years ago when they were able to make the Western Conference Finals, they're a team, a young team with the MVP, when put together, plus 2,500 is value.
That's Jeff Eisenband. I'm Kazim Famiwide. This has been MSG PM presented for the people by Caesar Sportsbook.